So Clement,
Yes, Michelle.
thank you so much for joining me today. I've been waiting so long.
Same here. I must say it was a long one coming. We kept on postponing again and again, but I must say I'm glad that finally
Yeah.
it's happening and looking forward to a fruitful conversation as always. I must say I'm a person who loves conversations. So on my way here, I was telling my wife that I can't wait. Can't wait. So,
Amazing.
yeah.
So, as you know, I'm a mental health and wellbeing coach, and I've been studying self-awareness for a very long time, reading a lot of books, and as we progress in life, I think self-awareness starts changing in life on how we need to become more aware. And so, I want to know from you, what does self-awareness mean to you? What does self-awareness mean to you?
Um, Thanks for that question. Growing up as a child, identity on its own, it was handed over to me. We have what we call identity crisis, where people they don't know who they are. The environments that we grow up in, they shape us. Each and every one of us, we come from different communities, and it's a contextual world that has shaped your worldview to see things the way you see them. And all of us, we have what we call self. And self, it speaks to character. We speak about self-esteem. We speak about self-awareness. We speak about self-this, self-that, self-this, self-that. And to self-awareness on its own, if you are not aware of something, the thing can be there, but you're not aware of it. Like, for example, we're in the studio. Somebody may know that maybe there's a snake in here, but we don't know about it. But the moment you know that there's something, like I've given an example, a snake, you are aware. Then you're gonna watch your moves, whatever that you do, you're gonna be conscious of the thing. So self-awareness same applies like that. If you are not aware that there's what we call self, you will become subject to a self that is handed to you by either media or the community that you come from or the family that you were raised in. And some of these things that we have inherited, you may think to yourself that it is healthy, and only to find out that it's not healthy. So awareness on its own says you monitor self in everything. I interact with you now, how I talk to you. If I'm a self-aware person, I monitor how I engage with other people when I speak to them. There are actually, even when you can go to Google, there are things that have been outlined to say these are the 10 things that self-aware people do, or maybe 5 things that self-aware people do. If you're not self-aware, you live life by default and not by design. And according to Oxford Dictionary, self-awareness it's defined as the conscious knowledge of your character and feelings. So it's two things. Human beings, we are characterized by your character and your emotions. These two things, they play a vital role in terms of who you are in the society. How you feel determines how you connect with other people. In psychology, that's what we call the dark room and the light room. So if my emotions, I possess a whole lot of dark emotions, I'm gonna find myself again and again gravitating towards what is dark. If I possess clean, positive emotions, I'm gonna gravitate towards what is light. So, two things with self-awareness: it's your character and your feelings.
Amazing.
Yeah. And if I were to take it to the acting industry, because it's one of the spaces that I'm passionate about. I have friends in the acting industry that I got to sit down with, best actors, of course, trying to get into the space of what makes you to be the best actor. So before you can even get on a set to shoot, like we're shooting right now, a podcast, they give you a script. And in that script, there's what we call a character. So we cannot begin to speak about self-awareness and minus character in the picture. What makes a best movie is different characters coming into play. This setup that we're in, me and you, we are characters. You bring what you're bringing to the table, I bring what I bring on the table. So a best actor, they tell you that you are a gangster. And then as a gangster, you are given that character, that role. You don't, even if you are a saint where you come from. I'm a believer, I'm a Christian, I'm a pastor. But the moment I get on set, if the character that I'm auditioning for, it is of a gangster, I cannot bring myself with my real character into that space. I have to study the character of a gangster. What goes into the mind of this person? And then how does this person feel? So two things on set. You must be able to build an emotion, connect with your audience on an emotional level. That's what will make you the best actor. The second thing, execute the character well. If the character says you must appear as someone who is drunk, time and again you are late at work because weekends you party, you must know how to execute that character of a drunk person. How does the person look? So self-awareness, it's bigger than what most people think. A self-aware person will know that if, as a social leader like myself, I'm someone who must impact my community and lead them in a particular way. There's a particular character that I'm going to put on to say a leader cannot behave in this manner. And then if, let's say, I'm angry at home, I'm not supposed to bring that to the public space because my character as a social leader, the society cannot afford to see the other side of myself, because this doesn't mean we don't get angry. I can be angered, but I need to deal with that and then check how do I to deal with my emotions, because there are certain things about you that are not for the public. The CIA say to a human being there are three lives. You have a public life, you have a private life, and a secret life. So my character, when I'm self-aware, I must know that this is my public life. When I'm in the public, this is how I must conduct myself. So a self-aware person will never confuse their private life and the secret life with their public life. You are always conscious of what you do in the public, in the private, and in the secret.
I also think that so many people talk about self-awareness and very little people talk about taking accountability for self-awareness. And I find it's becoming less and less in our world, because we are taking in so much information every day. We become less and less self-aware, but taking responsibility and accountability of our self-awareness. What is your take on that?
Accountability and responsibility, those are two key words, I was thinking about it this week that one of the things that we miss out on, especially in relationships, if we want to build strong relationships, accountability and responsibility is key. And a person who is accountable, you must be a big person when it comes to apologizing, Yes. And I would like this one to sink into all the viewers. If you want to build sustainable relationships, you don't build a sustainable relationship by being a person who you are all about, I want to win conversations. You must be big when it comes to saying, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to talk to you like that. I didn't know that it was going to hurt you. Because for some people who are not self-aware, whenever they find themselves in a situation where they've hurt your emotions, instead of them apologizing and taking accountability, be responsible for their actions, they will rather gaslight you, make you think that you are the one who's wrong. And that on its own, it's toxic. When you are self-aware, you also uproot things in you that are toxic, because a self-aware person will always say, I want to build conducive environments. I want to build healthy relationship with my colleagues. And for you to do that, responsibility and accountability is a key thing. And maybe also to bring it to you, Michelle, in your because I've given my view and my understanding of what self-awareness is, and just to bring in a balanced perspective, because some of the things I know, they are also influenced by, I'm a man, I'm a woman, and we must bring a balanced perspective. From your understanding, what is self-awareness?
So there's many different types of self-awareness that we get, and there's many different levels of self-awareness. But the specific self-awareness I want to talk about today is self-aware. It's being aware of your behavior, your emotions, your feelings. And like I said, we're not aware of it anymore because of all the information that is coming, and we are just living in our subconscious minds. We're not even aware what is around us. And like I said, it's the first thing for me is taking accountability of your emotions and your feelings. You know, I've come with a long journey of self-awareness and studying it, but actually practicing it myself. And it's like becoming your own best friend and understanding, why am I acting towards this person, or why am I feeling like this? And we don't take the time anymore to get to know ourselves and why we are acting and behaving the way we are. And I think for me, every day I ask myself critical questions, because that's where it starts. It starts with critical questions with yourself. Asking yourself when you wake up in the morning, how do I want to feel today? And how do I not want to feel today? Because if you have decided that already in the morning when you wake up, you will be in charge of your emotions and your behaviors. And then again, when you've done your day, coming home saying, okay, how did I act today? And why did I act like that? Which helps you to get to know yourself better and to help you to find those triggers that is triggering you. And I find a lot that people are ghosting critical feedback lately. And
but what do you mean by critical feedback?
When I get a client, a potential client, I get in my car and I see the client. I do everything to present myself, to get the job. And then the client will mail me and say, sorry, Michelle, you didn't get the job. We chose somebody else. Then I would say, coming from a place of love, I would love to know what the feedback is from the team or from you. What can I do better that will help me in my business to move forward? And guess what happens? I get the ghosting.
Okay.
Because I just feel like people don't give critical feedback anymore. And critical feedback coming...
So basically they leave people hanging and you're the one who's supposed to figure it out for yourself.
That's it. Like people are ghosting critical feedback. They're running away from it because they don't want to make the other one, they don't want to feel bad by giving critical feedback. And I think critical feedback is so essential for someone to grow, but it's the way that we give critical feedback to one another.
We give it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's I remember when I got a warning, when I was in corporate, when I got a warning, I remember the boss was sitting there with the paper and he's like, and he showed me the paper. you know what you did wrong. Hey, didn't you, Michelle? You know what you did wrong. And I think people in the workplace, leaders and managers, also don't know how to give critical feedback. There's a way in giving it from love, and there's the way from, you were naughty, right? You were naughty. And critical feedback is so important to grow one's self-awareness. And so is conflict, seeing that we're on it. You know, if we don't work through conflict and speak to one another from a place of love in conflict, how would we ever be self-aware of one another? You know, that's the external, coming to the external side of self-awareness. But ultimately, self-awareness is to be aware of your behaviors and your feelings and your emotions, to ultimately build a relationship with yourself, to become still. So many of us aren't still anymore because we're forever rushing. So we look past ourselves, never mind other people, and taking accountability. And I just think if we can start, I mean, they don't even teach people this in school anymore. Well, they don't. They have never, I think, ever taught people in school how self-awareness is and how to use that skill. And I think people should open it in schools and start teaching it, because it's such a critical skill to have. And to teach people how to grow the skill.
But
you know?
how do we begin to teach people? Where do we start?
So
Let's say, for an example, there's a couple, they are before you, you know, like we're speaking, I know some people are married couples, some are dating, some are in the corporate, and then you are battling with that. How do we begin to teach them the steps one that can take to be self-aware?
So basically what I do, you know, I do individual coaching, and then I work for a leadership group or management group or sales or clients. And it's all the same but different. So if you're an individual, you know, there's a couple of tests that you can start doing. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? And, you know, lately people just ponder on their weaknesses and not their strengths.
Sure.
And there's different types of self-awareness. There's a negative side of self-awareness and there's a positive side. And we are naturally on the negative side of being self-aware.
Please expound on the difference.
So the negative side of self-awareness is the thoughts that we think. You know, us as women, sometimes we look in the mirror and what do? We already give negative thoughts. Oh, I'm overweight, or oh, my pants isn't fitting, or oh, they're not going to like me, you know. As a woman, I know we are very critical on ourselves, you know, and that becomes our beliefs and that becomes our behaviors, you know, and it puts a lot of fear inside a person because you speak to yourself like that.
So it's called negative self-awareness.
Yes. So our brains are on record. The more you're going to give yourself negative thoughts and speak negative, your perception will be negative.
So what you say to yourself, it shapes your worldview.
Absolutely. And that becomes part of your self-awareness. You know, even if you're not overweight, or, you know, we just become like that because we keep on talking to ourselves like that. It's like, how do we speak to ourselves and what are the thoughts that we think on a daily basis? Yes, we can't control our incoming thoughts, but we can control how that will affect us. Self-awareness I see as a mirroring effect. You know, whatever you shine out will shine back at you.
Well, whilst we're still on that, like you said, negative self-awareness, and there's somebody who's saying, I've been like this ever since I was young, ever since I was at school. I used to speak negative words to myself. Now that I'm an adult, I still struggle with that. And to a certain extent, it has affected my relationships. It affects my performance, because I believe that if you say negative things to yourself, like let's say come into the podcast and I say to myself, I'm not good, I'm shy and all those things, you know, it will actually, like you said, mirror back.
Yes.
Yeah. So somebody who's struggling with that, they say, I want to come out of that and become a person who is positive self-awareness, as you have put it. How do they come out of that and come to the position where they are positive self-aware?
So that person is in a fixed mindset, right? So we need to bring this person from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset.
Okay.
That's where you start. And this is coming from a very young age. So as a professional coach, we go back in time. We have to go back in time to see exactly why are you mirroring this and what has happened in order for you to become this person. And it's a long journey. It's a step-by-step journey to see, and I always say to people think, oh, I'm just going to change if I know it comes from childhood. It takes daily work. You have to daily work on it, and like I said, being conscious about how do I want to feel today? How do I not want to feel today? And work with a coach, in order or not to feel that pain every day, to work on it with yourself, work with a professional, because it is possible that you can change those behaviors. You can change those habits, you can change that's the beauty of our creation. The brain is such a beautiful muscle organ that God has given us. It doesn't mean it's just to get people out of that stuck mindset, that fixed mindset, into a growth mindset. But step by step.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah. You keep on saying that we are responsible for telling ourselves in the morning how we want to feel today.
Yes.
I think you've said it 3 times now, 4 times, and I can tell you are big on that. To a person who says, for an example, every time I go to work, there's this one colleague who keeps on poking me and making sure that they ruin my day. Or it can be my kids. They keep on ruining my day, making me feel overwhelmed and all those things. What do you say to that person? Because they might be like, am I really in charge of how I want to feel on a daily basis, or it's circumstantial? Because for some people, they give it to the world to determine how they must feel today. They give it to their classmates at school. They give it to their colleagues at work. What do you say to that person who says, it's my environment that makes me to feel the way I feel on a daily basis?
I always say, move, you're not a tree.
Okay.
No, I'm joking. So I remember in corporate, I worked for a boss who really irritated me. Like I would wake up happy and I'll go to work, and the moment I face him, I'm like, oh, this is not going to be a good day. And not only has this journey taught me, but my studies, deep into my studies, it showed me that there's something that I need to learn about this person. He's either teaching me something, or he's showing me what I need to see in life. And the minute I realized, I asked myself, Michelle, what is it that this man needs to teach you? And it's very difficult, especially when people are ugly with you or giving you a bad time. I had to ask myself, what is it that this person is showing me? And he showed me to be patient.
So basically, a person can come into your space to show you that maybe you are not really patient.
Yes. To teach you or show you a lesson. There is no coincidences. I don't believe in any coincidences. People will come into your life for a reason and a season.
Come on now.
Yes.
Come on now.
Yes. And he came into my life to show me patience. And then what did he show me? He taught me patience. But he also showed me not to ever be like him.
Sure.
Not to ever lead a team like him.
So basically what you are saying, relationships as well and networks, they enhance self-awareness.
Yes, absolutely. I can say every single person that I've met in my life has either showed me, guided me, or made me fall flat on my face, showed me, taught me a lesson. And I'm just forever grateful for all of that.
Come on.
Because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be sitting with you right now, helping other people. I love this conversation.
Yeah. Whilst we're still on that, there's also a saying, and I think it can connect. It connects more to this conversation of self-awareness. There's a saying that says, all of us, we are a total sum of 5 people that we spend our time with. Let me repeat that. All of us, we are a total sum of 5 people that we spend our time with. Maybe speak to that as well. How does environment shape us, while we're still not talking about self-awareness?
Yes. So first of all, it's being aware, it's self-awareness, being aware of yourself, your emotions, your feelings, and your behaviors. And then also our environment will also shape us. The people that we spend most of our time with will shape us. And I get called into companies many times saying, this employee is not performing, this one's not performing. And the first thing I look at is in the environment.
Okay.
What is going on in the environment? Because people become like their environment.
Sure.
If there is one toxic person in that team, everybody else will become toxic eventually. So we become like our environment. We become like the people we spend most of our time with.
So how do we deal with that one rotten potato that spoils all the potatoes?
Well, I always say, what is this rotten potato teaching me? I don't ever want to be like that rotten potato, number one. And what are they showing me? And it's a matter of not being ugly towards that person, but to learn to cut it off and not to take it in. Because we are so unaware, we take everything in people say to us.
Sure.
If you are aware that's a rotten potato, you will be aware not to take in what that person is saying towards you or giving towards you. And I know it sounds hectic, but if you know you have a rotten potato, do you want to spend your life around a rotten potato? No. Make a plan. Look for other work. I know it sounds hectic, but you will become like the people that you surround yourself with. But I know many times we're in environments, I also feel it. Sometimes I'm around people and I'm like, I'm going to have to be around this person for the next 2 hours. But then I know, I'm aware, I cut off, I don't take in. I don't become self-aware.
So you don't cut them off, you cut the things that they say.
I don't take it in.
Behavior, you don't take it in.
Yeah,
so basically what you do in environments, you monitor what you take in and what you don't.
Absolutely. Because I'm taking that home with me.
Okay.
And I don't want to take things like that home with me because
That's deep.
I know who I am.
That's deep.
I know who I am. I don't need people to tell me who I am. And when you are around a rotten potato and they tell you who you are, you're just going to go, I don't need to take this in because I know exactly who I am.
Wow. And then at some stage of your life, because I know you didn't start like the way you are, being aware of, I don't need to take this in. So when you were still struggling with taking things in, aware or unaware, how did it affect your environment in the past?
I was a mess. It affected me mentally, physically. Sometimes people would say all the time, oh, look how fat she is, look how fat she is. It affects us. Man or woman, it affects what people are saying to you. So you have got to take that responsibility and accountability to say, stop, I'm not taking this in because I know who I am. What he or she is saying towards me shouldn't affect me. I shouldn't be taking it in. And that is where mental health starts. By listening to what other people are saying to you. It's not coming from a place of love. And knowing what is coming from a place of love and what is coming from a place of hate. Knowing the differences.
Yeah.
I am so aware today I'm so blessed because I can select who I want to be with.
Sure.
You know, I can select, I don't want to be with, I want to be with these people. These are the people.
So basically in charge of your
Yes.
environment.
I'm accountable. I want these people to uplift me. I want these people to push me forward. I mean, you know that's how we found each other.
Yeah.
You know, and about people's energy. You know, you feel people's energy and you're like, this is the person whose energy I want to surround my soul with, and vice versa. You know?
So when we started, I said, according to the dictionary, self-awareness speaks to having a conscious knowledge towards your character and your emotions. And in this conversation, somebody's saying, I've been this kind of a person, and I'm thinking right now of changing my character, because whilst I'm listening to this, I can tell that the self that I've been, it's not working for me, but already in the society, I'm known as this monster, if I were to loosely put it, and I want to change. It can be in your relationship with your spouse. It can be a relationship with your colleagues. It can be a relationship with your clients. And you are saying, I'm highly challenged right now. I want to change my character. Like I gave an example in the beginning. When you go for a movie set, there are different characters. And I like it that in that space, there's what we call auditioning. You don't audition for all characters. There's that one character that you say, I'm going to audition for because this is a character I want to play. Be it a villain in the movie, it's the character that you want to play. So somebody who is saying, I'm now ready for change. This conversation is pushing me. I want to change. I want to be a better person in my marriage. I want to be a better person at work. I want to be a better person in my community. Where do they begin?
You know, for me, I have a lot of those people, and a lot of those people, I actually dated somebody that was like that, saying, I want to change, I want to change. And action speaks louder than words. You will see people start changing in their actions and not in their words. And like I said, if you are so deeply into it already and you're not sure how to change, you need to find professional help. That's your number one. You know, I always have wives that says, oh, my husband needs help, or my wife needs help. Please, can you coach them? I'm like, no, because you are wanting them to change. You cannot change anyone. They need to lift up their hand and say, hey, I want to change. That is the first step to change. Not because the wife says so, or the husband needs the wife. Or I had a lady the other day, she said, can I give you my husband's number? He needs to change. And I'm like, no, ma'am. Your husband needs to lift up his hand. So because it's so deeply rooted in us, we need professional help.
But how do you motivate? Because like you're saying, it starts with the person. I can't come to you and say, let me give you my wife's number, she needs to change, you know. And you're saying it starts with the person. So if you are in that kind of a setup, a relationship, you desire for your spouse, sometimes it's your kids. You want them to raise their hand and be like, now I want to change. How do you begin to motivate them? Because every action, it starts with motivation.
Yes.
So how do you begin to motivate your partner, your kids, and your friends to change?
You know, that's also another conversation for many hours. And I always say to people, especially husbands and wives, you cannot change them however you want them to change. You can only pray for them. You can only start by praying for them, because you can never change someone. You know, the only way people do change really is rock bottom, when it turns into divorce or a fight. You know, then the people actually realize, oh, I should have, I could have. You cannot force anyone to change. You know.
So some people, they realize when it's already late.
When something critical or when something hectic's happened, that's unfortunately when people only start changing. They don't just change for the sake of changing. When something really hectic happens or tragic, that's when I see people starting to change, you know.
And we are saying to them right now, don't wait until it's late for you to say, I want to change.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you say this, I've also picked up that, there's also, loss that comes through death. And when
Yes.
death hits, that's when a person will say, I wish I had treated my mother well.
Yes.
I wish I had treated my spouse well, my kids well. And unfortunately now they are no more, and I can't change that. So we are challenging all the viewers, whilst you're still able to change and do right by other people, please do so whilst you still can.
So, Clement, one big thing for me as well with self-awareness is setting boundaries. Now, I find it with myself, like I always say yes to everything. You know, will you come? Yes. Will you do this? Yes. And you're laughing because you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've got such busy schedules, but, you know, coming from a place of love, we want to be everywhere. And then we realize, I can't do it, you know.
It's impossible.
Yeah, and then you say no. So, you know, how does one, I know, you know, setting boundaries is a big thing within self-awareness. So how would you recommend we start saying no a little bit more and saying yes to everything?
I like the question. Earlier, I think you also, when we spoke about self-awareness, like we said, it speaks also to feelings, how other people feel about your responses. Boundaries, number one, you must be intentional about them. And boundaries, they are more like laws. Laws are not meant to destroy. They are meant to govern, regulate, and prevent things that may be detrimental to whatever cause. I'll give you an example. Driving on the road. There are laws and rules to driving. Those are boundaries. The boundary says if the street light, the robot, the traffic light, yeah, it's red, you mustn't cross, you must stop. That's a boundary.
Yes.
And then when I'm late, the question is, Michelle, when I'm late and the traffic light says stop, am I gonna feel good? I won't feel good, but the traffic light, it's regulating the traffic. So boundaries regulate your space, your environment, and being considerate of other people's feelings, it's a good thing. But you shouldn't do that at the expense of your boundaries.
Yes.
Because sometimes I want to make my friends feel good, They're calling me, let's go out this weekend. And I know that Monday I'm writing an examination. My boundaries should be clear that when it's examination time, we don't go out together. And you cannot be big when it comes to boundaries if you are not big when it comes to priorities. So boundaries and priorities, they go hand in hand. A whole lot of people, they keep on asking me a question, how do you juggle doing a lot of things? Because I'm a graphic designer, I'm a transformational speaker, I do podcasts, I do radio, and they want to know what's the secret to that. And my secret is one, I master my order of priorities.
Yes.
If you don't master that, you cannot even begin to speak about boundaries. It's Saturday. We are in the studio. What's the priority for you today? The priority was, I need to be in the studio. I need to record the podcast. You told me that you were not feeling well, but you had to push yourself,
Yes.
to say, I'm going to do it regardless of how I am feeling. So it's a priority for the day. And you must also come to a place where you live a life with zero excuses.
Yes.
Zero excuses. We cannot begin to speak about boundaries if you are a person whose life is characterized by excuses. I always have an excuse why I can't do it, why I can't do it. And if you live like that, you will also become a character that is not reliable, because like I said, when we speak about self-awareness, it speaks to a character. So you become that character that everybody knows that if we can agree together that we're gonna start a podcast with you, it's just an agreement and no implementation.
Yes.
You were speaking about actions. So you boundaries are essential. They regulate also growth. They regulate growth. Give you an example with pregnancy. Pregnancy, there's what we call a matured term. Matured term is between 8 months and 9 months. It shouldn't go beyond that. You can't be pregnant for 12 months or 2 years. You shouldn't, those are boundaries. And some people in their environments, you allow a thing that it's supposed to go for 9 months to go for 2 years. And then you ask yourself, why am I feeling the way I feel? Self-awareness, like we said, it speaks to emotions. Why do you feel the way you feel in the relationship that you are in? It can come as a result of you are not big when it comes to boundaries. A person who's big when it comes to boundaries, when they get into an environment, you spoke about energy. When they get into an environment, your boundaries also, they bring energy in the room. There's that one person we know that the moment they get into the room, the boss is here. We must all behave, because there are boundaries where the boss is around the corner. And even the energy in the room, when the boss is not around, it's party. When the boss comes in, the energy changes. So the power of having boundaries, it also regulates your environment. People know that when Michelle is around the corner, we don't curse because she's in the building. She will call us to order. So boundaries, basically, it also goes to what we call a brand. And I don't want to speak more into branding, but a brand it's what people think about you when you're not there.
Yes.
And it also connects to emotions. When we build a brand, we target an emotion. You spoke about the subconscious mind when we started. Branding, it's also capturing the subconscious mind of a person. They make decisions unaware. I go to a shop, I want to buy something to drink. They don't have to tell me which one to buy because that brand is big. I buy it without even being aware of I'm buying it. So you must become a person of boundaries. That on its own, it will make you to be in charge of your environments. That's why I love boundaries.
Yes. And, if we speak about boundaries, like I also want to speak about self-love with self-awareness. And some people have got it wrong. Self-love is not going to the spa or buying that expensive watch or buying that nice dress in the cupboards. That moment lasts days, weeks, months, and then it's gone. Self-love, for me, is being honest to yourself by doing the things you said you were going to do. For example, I was a trainer, bodybuilder, fitness model for a very long time. And then I stopped because that wasn't my priority anymore. My priority was work and study, and I was a single mom, and I stopped. And every morning I'll wake up and say, I need to get into the gym. You know how we are. And then you don't end up getting there. And then I had to pause and say, okay, this is an expectation that you are setting for yourself. And if you don't do the things that you said you were going to do, that isn't self-love because you are letting yourself down. And if you say you're going to train for the next year, you are just letting yourself down. So self-love for me is doing the things for yourself you said you were going to do that day. How do you feel about that?
I like that. You remind me of a transformational coach by the name Lisa Nichols. Lisa says you are responsible to teach people how to treat you.
Yes.
That's big. How I treat myself, I teach other people that this is how Clement or Michelle must be treated. And we are living in a society where people expect a lot from the external, that they cannot give themselves from the internal. So it must start from within.
Yes.
Love yourself first before you can be loved by other people. And if you can teach to that it should start with me, I speak highly of myself. My wife will tell you on our way here, I was like, I'm going to nail the conversation.
Yes.
I'm ready for this, And we get in here, the energy that I bring in the room, it's what I already told myself.
Yes.
And when you give that back to me, you are basically giving me what I already gave myself. So self-love, it's important. Let it start first with you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Amen. We've nailed this one.
Yes, what a conversation.
We've nailed this, baby.
Wow.
Okay.